Welcome back, Survivalists. Today we're taking a look at BattlBox Mission 79. We're actually going to be doing this one in reverse order and starting off with the knife of the month first. And the knife for this month is the REVO RJ1. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So first off, let's just stop and take a look at this sheath. So one thing that I love that I noticed right off the bat is the attachment system to your belt, and I love that. I've seen this on a few other knives. It's kind of a newer design, but one of the problems with traditional sheaths is that you have to take your belt off in order to feed that through the sheath. And let's say you have multiple gear on you, right? Maybe you have a pouch on the right with your flashlight and your knife on the left. To do that, you have to completely undo your entire belt, feed it through there, and then try to feed it to the other one. And if you have a Leatherman and a knife and a flashlight, or handcuffs, or multiple gear on your belt, it can become kind of a pain in the neck to do that. Props to them for incorporating this into their sheath. Just make it so much easier just to attach to your belt or attach to your backpack or wherever else, maybe in your car somewhere. If you have a strap, you can attach this to it. Another thing that I noticed off the bat from this is that it actually has a drainage hole here at the bottom of the sheath. That is another little thing that I look for with sheaths. I'm really happy when they do that. Let's say you're gunning a deer, or your blade just gets wet, or it's raining, and you put a wet blade back in your sheath. A typical sheath is just gonna sit there, right? And that moisture is actually gonna stay in your sheath practically forever. Even if you pull it out, you use your knife, that's not going to easily dry out, and you're always gonna have your knife in a wet sheath. So I really like it when they have a small drainage hole like that in the bottom of the sheath. So overall, yeah, man, props to them. I'm really happy with the sheath. See, they got a little hole here if you want to attach a lanyard to it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the knife. So this is it here. This is the REVO RJ1. So full tang, of course. I'm very happy with that. I really like full tang knives. And I'll say I really like this blade as well. So this has got a nice drop point there. That makes it really good if you want to penetrate something. Let's say you have to gut a deer or you have to gut a fish or something. You want a tapered drop point like that, which I really like. Nice thick blade as well. It's got a 90-degree spine on here. So if you wanted to use this with your ferro rod, you could. And it's got a really interesting, like, rough finish to most of this knife. It's got this dark, very rough, unpolished finish to it, but only around the edges. And I really like that a lot. I'm not sure what that's called, but it looks really slick. It looks very primitive and very raw, kind of like a raw material. And they've obviously polished that away and grinded it away for the actual blade face. So I'm really happy with that blade. That looks really, really slick. And I have to say, this is a really good size for a knife as well. You know, pocket knives, they usually have a much thinner blade. And you can go with a even bigger knife like the Gerber LMF2, which has a much, much bigger blade. I think kind of overkill in a lot of situations. But this is just a good size for a blade right here. And I feel like I could easily, you know, cook something with this. I could process meat. But I could also, you know, process wood and tinder with something like this as well. It feels very solid in my hand. So the blade length on this is 3.875 inches. The handle length is 4.375 inches, and the overall length is 8.25 inches. And I have to say, I like this size. This is just a really good size for a knife. Something like this would be perfect if you're going out hunting, if you're going out camping, doing some bushcraft work, something kind of outdoors. Even if you're bringing this knife to cook with out in the wild, I think this is like a perfect size knife for all those things. You don't always need a giant knife, right? And a lot of times a pocket knife is just a little too fragile for some stuff like processing wood. But this definitely is not fragile. This feels very, very solid in my hands. So this knife is made out of 9CR stainless steel and has a flat grind to it. So let's talk about the scales for a moment here. So it has this particular one has some gray and orange scales on it. Now, having some orange and having some bright colors in your knife scales or in your ferro rod or your compass, really important gear. I think that is a pretty good idea if your purpose is to use this out while you're camping, right? If I put this down on the ground, that orange is what I'm going to see first. A lot of times if you have a wood grain on there or everything's kind of black or brown, you run the risk of losing it. I think it looks cooler when it's black or brown or wood finish, but from a practical standpoint, it's not always the most practical thing, right? Right, we've all seen plenty of episodes of Alone where somebody loses one really important piece of gear, like their ferro rod or their knife or something, and that's kind of why you want to have these orange strips in there. That's kind of how you know that this is like a serious knife, a serious tool, that they're designing it as a serious tool for somebody to bring out into the woods with them. But overall, I think the scales are pretty comfortable. It's got some nice texture to it, which is something I always really look for in scales. I don't like very smooth and polished scales. And at the butt of the knife, it also has a hole here for a lanyard, which I really like as well. I like attaching 550 cord lanyards to a lot of my knives. I actually use a lot of Titan cord, which is what this is here. So this has snare wire in there, it's fishing wire, has a fire starter in there, and a few other strands built right into the fire, or right into the actual 550 cord. And I like making little lanyards like that to attach to something like this. You could even attach your ferro rod to that using some Titan cord. You got, you know, the start of a pretty decent, you know, little survival kit here just with this knife and a ferro rod and a lanyard. But overall, man, I am really happy with this knife. This knife may be a contender for my next expedition out into the woods, right? This may be kind of my go-to knife. This is exactly what I look for when I look for a good knife to bring out camping. And I'm really happy with this whole sheath system that they have. They've done this right. The sheath, 10 out of 10, right? This is exactly what I look for, is this type of attachment system, and then a little drainage hole. And it has all these other little holes here if you wanted to configure this differently, maybe strap it to yourself in a different configuration. You have that flexibility with it. So yeah, this is the REVO RJ1. I think this is an exceptional knife. I'm very happy with this. It'd be perfect for camping, for doing some bushcraft, for some hunting, and even just doing some cooking out in the wild. So next, let's move on to the Pro Box, and the Pro Box this month is the Survivor Filter Pro Pump. So ironically, I actually have this exact filter already, and I can tell you, I'm really happy with it. I really enjoy this filter, and I often do bring this filter with me if I'm doing an overnight camping trip somewhere. And since I've already had my own unbox and I use it quite often, I'll show you what it comes with. So you have your basic pump here, you have a little bag that comes with, and so this is your filter here, and you get this guy, you screw it in like this. And then, so this is gonna be the clean water here. This is where you get your dirty water from. And it has a pre-filter built into it. And so you throw this into the water, and you want it to kind of flow down with the water. This guy keeps this buddy afloat in the water. So your pre-filter here, and then you just kind of pump it, and it pumps the water through your pre-filter, through your filter, and you get clean, drinkable water out of the back here. And it also comes with a little cup or a little cap that kind of goes over top of this entire thing that you can use for a cup for your drinking water as well. And yeah, I do use this thing quite often. I actually have two versions of this. I have the manual one, and then they have an electric one. And if I know I'm going out there just for one night, I have a full battery charger or some sort of solar system, I'll often bring the electric one just because it is more convenient. But that's always in the back of my mind, that what happens if that electric pump fails, right? Or I run out of electricity or something like that. So I do like having the manual one here. It is kind of a pain in the neck to pump, but it surprisingly gives you quite a bit of water pretty quickly. It's not that hard to use. This really is one of my favorite filters to use when I'm going out camping overnight or something. I almost always bring this. And it's actually really easy to clean the filter as well. You can essentially backwash this. There's ways to backwash this filter to remove any of the debris so that you can reuse it over and over again. And you can use this for quite a long time. It comes with a syringe that you can use to pump water in the backward direction of the filter in order to clean out the filter. You really don't have to do it all that often though. Just once in a while you may want to clean out the filter, and it all comes in a little travel bag like this as well. So good on BattlBox for getting a good reliable filter that I personally use as well. So who should get something like this? So first off, I think that pretty much everybody should have something like this or some sort of manual filtration system just to be prepared for emergency situations, right? You could even leave something like this in your car. If your car breaks down in the middle of nowhere, but you find a ditch that you can filter out some water from. If you just rode through a major hurricane or storm, maybe you don't have electricity, so your pump to your well doesn't work anymore. Or maybe the city's water becomes contaminated. Those are very real situations that happen all the time. Most people don't have a filter system at all in their homes. Now, if you're going out camping, yeah, this is definitely a great item to bring. It's not always practical to bring all the water that you need to drink on a camping trip. You have to have a filtration system like this. If you're going on a 2-night camping trip, can you imagine how much water you'd have to bring for that? You really just want to bring a little bit of water, you bring something like this. I think that everybody should have some sort of manual water filtration system like this. If just for camping, for backpacking, for emergency situations. And I've actually already got this exact one, Survivor Filter Pro Pump. And they also have, I think it's like the Pro Plus or whatever, that has the electric motor built into it, which is perfectly fine as well if you wanted to go that route. I just like having the security and the safety of having a manual pump here for that. So yeah, man, this is definitely a great item. I can vouch for it, and I'm very happy with this one. So before we move on to the gear in the advanced box and the basic box, I just want to give a huge shout out to BattlBox. BattlBox is how I find out about the latest and coolest prepping and survival gear out there. They've actually got 4 different tiers of boxes that you can sign up for. And if you want to open up these boxes every single month with me, you can sign up using my affiliate link down below and use coupon code SurvivalKnowHowYT to save a little bit of money on your first purchase. So now let's move on to the gear in the advanced box. So the item for this month is the ETON FRX2 Emergency Weather Radio. Again, this is a must-have. If you guys watch any of my prepping videos, I am always harping on emergency radios, that this should be a top priority for you, having a good emergency radio in your home emergency kit. During an emergency situation, having access to life-saving information is really important. And if the power goes out or the internet goes out or your cell phone network goes down, how are you going to get access to that information about, where FEMA is setting up camps with available resources for you, or what the weather is going to do, where the tornadoes have been spotted, what the hurricane is doing? How are you going to get access to that? That is why it's important to have an emergency radio in your home emergency kit. And so this emergency radio looks pretty solid. It looks like it has a lot of the similar features that most emergency radios have. You can go set this up outside to get access to that. It also has a built-in flashlight. That's what I really love. So you're essentially getting a solar-powered flashlight with this, and it has a crank battery on there as well. So if you don't have time to charge up the batteries using the solar panels, you can use the crank on the back. I think that alone, if you don't have a solar chargeable or a crank flashlight, you need to have one of those. That's also one of those most important things. And you can also charge this from the USB port as well. So if you know a bad storm is coming your way, you can charge this up before the storm hits you. You're at least going to have light, and you're going to have access to the emergency radio. And I'll be honest, it's also a bit of a morale boost, right? When you don't have any electricity, listening to some music for you and your family is a bit of a morale boost. And I think that is an important thing to factor into as well.
Forecast for the Baltimore metro. Areas of fog this morning. Highs in the lower 70s.
And according to this, if you crank this hand crank on the back for 1 minute straight, you'll have 15 to 20 minutes use of the emergency radio, which is pretty amazing, and I love that. So if you guys don't have an emergency radio in your home emergency kit, you absolutely need one. This may be one of the first items I'd even recommend to add to your emergency kit as well. They are that important. And so once again, this is the ETON FRX2 Emergency Weather Radio. So now let's move on to the gear in the basic box. And the basic box is the most affordable BattlBox subscription. If you upgrade to the advanced box, you get everything in the basic box plus the advanced box. You get the Pro box, you get everything in the advanced and basic box as well. You get the Pro Plus, then you get everything in the Pro Plus, the Pro, the advanced, and the basic box. So let's go ahead and jump in here. And one of the first items that you get is going to be the GEARHALO Deodorizer pods. So this is really interesting, and I 100% see a use for this. So these are reusable odor absorbers, essentially, right? And we've seen things like this before. We've seen like moisture absorbers as well, but these are really specifically for odors. And I love this because I absolutely see a use case for this. When I go camping, if let's say I get back and I'm exhausted and I don't want to unpack my camping bag that day, maybe I'll sit it there for a day, maybe it's like 3-4 days before I finally unpack all the gear in one of my backpacks. That stuff stinks, you know, especially if it was raining out there. Like mildew and mold can grow in there and it can really stink up your gear. And if you have like a stinky sleeping bag, that sucks, man. That really sucks, right? Or a stinky hammock or whatever, or pillow, a camping pillow, right? It's not pleasant having those odors. And there may be some real health effects too there with mildew, potential mold as well. And that's where these guys come in. So these are odor absorbers, right? And you can use this to throw in your camping bag, or you can throw it in your gym bag, or throw it in your car, whatever you need. And it absorbs all those odors up for you. And also has kind of a nice fragrance to it as well. And not only does it take away the odors, these things actually absorb the moisture in the gear as well. So it's literally protecting your gear from mildew and moisture damage, you know, and everything else like that. Not only does this help with the odors, but it literally absorbs the moisture as well. So you throw this in your backpack, maybe when you come back, maybe when you're going out, and it's going to help protect your gear by absorbing the moisture in there and not causing any damage to it. What's cool is it actually has Velcro here on the back of this, which could make it easy to attach to a few things, but you can actually attach multiple bags together with that Velcro, right? Just like this. And what I love about this is these are reusable. These are not one-time use. You use these, it absorbs all the moisture and the odor. To kind of reset them, you throw them in your dryer. That heats them up and gets rid of all the moisture in them so that they can then absorb more moisture again. And you can make the argument that this is almost a must-have item. I've actually never seen these before, but the more I think about it, the more I love it, just to protect your gear. So if you're camping, throw this in your backpack when you get back. You know, throw it in your tent bag. You know, when you're storing your gear away, you know, for the winter or something, throw one of these in there. If you're traveling, throw these one in your boots or something, or throw them in your backpack, throw them in your gym bag, throw them in your car. There's just a lot of situations where I could see having something like this be handy. And it's just a really interesting design that they have here, how they can attach using the Velcro. And you could probably also attach this to other types of items as well. So yeah, I absolutely love these. I've only ever seen like one-time use, you know, odor or moisture absorbers. I've never seen something that you could reuse like this and throw in the dryer. So I'm actually, after this video, I'm gonna throw this in some of my bags and some of my gear. This is a pretty cool product right here. And again, this is GEARHALO Deodorizer Pod. I'll have a link to this as well as all the other gear that I mentioned in this video down in the description below. So the next item in the basic box is the ARCANE Concerted ARCBAND. So that's these guys right here. And essentially what these are just little bungee cords with clips on the end of them. So you can use these to attach gear to your backpack. You can use this for cable management. You can use this for a variety of uses just to kind of get your gear organized and keep everything together. And if you have bigger gear, you can absolutely attach these together, and you can see that they have a lot of elasticity to them. And so you could attach all three of these together if you wanted to. And you know, let's say you have your jacket or something, you're trying to attach it to your actual backpack. You could wrap this around there, loop that through, and you attach your jacket to your backpack or whatever other gear that you have. So this is kind of just a general use item, kind of like a carabiner, right? You'd find multiple ways to use a carabiner, and that's what this is. This gives you a lot of flexibility in how you can use this. You can use this in your backpack. Let's say you have a tarp or something, but you don't have any straps for it, right? You could roll up your tarp. You use this around that to keep your tarp kind of together. Use this to attach gear to the outside of your backpack, to organize everything in your backpack. I'm sure you're gonna find a lot of use cases for something like this. And again, a really cool and kind of innovative design, and it's got these little clips on it, and that you can actually attach these together to make them longer as well. I really like that. Yeah, so pretty neat. And this is the ARCANE Concerted ARCBANDs. So the next item in the basic box is going to be Trail Chili by Southern Survival. So BattlBox, they've got so much experience now with freeze-dried food and emergency preparedness gear. They've created their own brand, Southern Survival, and they've made their own freeze-dried food as well. You know, so BattlBox, like, they've been doing this for a couple of years now. You can go back on my videos. I think I started off with like BattlBox mission like 3 or 4. I was pretty early on there, and they're up to 79 now. So they have a lot of experience. They've tested out a lot of freeze-dried food. They often give out freeze-dried food in these things. And they've got their own brand now. According to them, they think it's the best tasting freeze-dried chili out there. So this is by Southern Survival. And if you don't have meals like this, you really need to have a few of these in your home for emergency preparedness situations. And you can absolutely use these on camping trips or hunting trips as well. But I definitely see a use case for having, or an argument for having a lot of freeze-dried meals like this for hurricanes, for tornadoes, for winter blackouts, all those different types of situations where maybe you can't leave your house or you don't have any electricity. You got a little propane burner, you can cook up some really good chili, which is going to help, you know, psychologically. Having a warm meal is going to help out and make a big difference, but also is going to give you a lot of nutrition. And these things are usually pretty calorically dense on purpose. So this one here has 540 calories in it. So this is by Southern Survival. So if you want to check out more of my BattlBox videos, you can click right here to check those out. Once again, use my affiliate link down in the description below to sign up for BattlBox. You can open up these boxes every single month with me as well. All right. If you want to learn about some more cool gear, you can check out some of my other BattlBox videos right here. Once again, if you do want to open up these boxes every single month with me, use my affiliate link down in the description below to sign up for BattlBox yourself. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you over in the next video.